Welcome back to Gold Fries. This is the Meshlicious from SSUP, or you can call it Sunny Side Up Design or SSUPD, whatever. I don't actually know how to pronounce the name. So the Meshlicious, the ever popular casing, and I actually bought this unit because it's so popular, so I want to try it. I bought the mesh version for RM549. So that's the price of it. There's a tempered glass version at RM519. So this casing, is it good? Yes. Is it value for money? Now that's one thing that I cannot give you a straight answer. Now I have done my benchmarks with for this setup since like more than 2 weeks ago, but I have so much difficulty when it comes to expressing myself. I've written one long text. I have it here actually, and then I've written even the second one, and I really had difficulty to present it because there's so many ifs and whats and all that. So you know what? I've decided to forget about what I wrote, and I'm going to just share to you my experience in using this casing. It might not be the most detailed review, but you'll get my opinion on this casing through what I've experienced. TLDR version, it's a nice casing, but it's so annoying to set up. So let's begin. Let's start by the good points. Now the casing arrived in a really small box, which I'm not going to show here. Really, the first thing that impressed me is how beautiful this casing is. No doubt, at that price, you get this, just the case actually, no fans, some accessories here and there, but it is the, let's just say this is the most refined casing I've ever had. Removing the panels are so easy. They clip on firmly and very gently. There's this really gentle click. It's not like other casing is. If you have used casings like TechWare Fusion, that's a bang metal sound. And R200 from Cooler, it's a bit less, but this is so refined. And the mesh, the panels, they are firm, they are solid, and really nicely painted. The structure is solid. You don't feel like you're being afraid of being cut because it's really refined. Kudos to them for that. However, pricing wise at RM549, no, it just comes with mesh. If you want to have okay, let me put it this way, you have to choose whether you want mesh or tempered glass version. The mesh version comes with mesh on both sides. For the tempered glass, one side mesh, one side tempered glass. Of course, you can decide how to place the tempered glass, whether it's this side to show the AIO or that side to show the graphics card. It's up to you. This is very unlike the NR200, which costs far less, like about 369 now, Malaysian ringgit that is. Sorry, I didn't mention that it's supposed to be Malaysian ringgit, not US dollars. The price will be varying. I have to bring the NR200 in because many people are comparing it with the NR200. Simply, there's no comparison. NR200, and now let's go with NR200P. It costs less. It comes with mesh and glass. It comes with additional fans. It's really complete, and the user experience is you can install everything and it'll work just right. That is a really great experience. I can't say the same for this one, but we'll touch on that later. So with this RM549 mesh, RM519 glass, you can buy the mesh or the glass separately. However, locally here in Malaysia, there's apparently not, those are not sold accessories yet. You have to buy from Sunny Side Up, and you can, on the website, it's retailed at 25 US. So that's the price to pay if you want additional accessories. Now let's move on to the case itself. Basically, the price you're paying, right? One, you must know that the price you pay for this casing does not end there. Remember I said there's no accessories like fan and such, and there's more to that. It is a beautiful casing. It is innovative. Now, like I said, this is more like an experience sharing kind of review. So with the other reviews around, I'm sure you know all the other features. Like for example, the top has one USB Type A, one USB Type C connector that could be limiting for people who don't use USB Type C at all. This Aorus B550i Pro AX, for example, does not come with USB Type C front panel header. Then there are other options like for you to mount ATX power supply, for you to use even bigger, thicker graphics card by shifting the motherboard plate, and you can even support, let's say, additional drives. That's also with condition. We'll touch all of that a bit later. This also has to do with the cost part, which I mentioned. It does at RM 549. That's not where your cost ends. So let's begin with the assembly part. I'm just going based on my experience when I assembled this. However, I think it's easier to go part by part. Okay, power supply part, simple. Motherboard part, simple. AIO part is a bit difficult. I'm using the Silverstone Ice Gem over here. Really beautiful, really good cooler. It's just that the tubes are so tough. So when I want to mount it as an intake setup, I was bending the tube really hard. So I wasn't even sure what's going to break, whether the tube's going to break or whether am I going to bend the metal thing there. In the end, I went with this push setup instead of pull, because I've actually tested both setup. I'll give you the benchmark details right now. So this is why I went with this current setup, because thermals is better. Not that it's actually affecting that much, all within specs. The NR200 is still, no matter how flawless this when it comes to temperature, but either way, you shouldn't be worried about anything. It's just a matter of whether your priority is to have a better balance or to have one or the other being hotter, depending on your setup. Here I'm using the AMD Ryzen 9 5900X, and at the back over here, I can turn it right now, it is the Gigabyte Eagle RTX 3080. Now let's switch it back. A few problems with this this Meshlicious. First things first, well, it's not actually a problem. It's more like compromise due to the innovation. For example, the graphics card. Let's go back to this. So the graphics card is vertically mounted. However, for long cards like this, you have to push the mount down. Now, my problem when I did this is that I pushed the mount down. However, I forgot to shift the PCIe cable, and the screw, the area that holds the PCIe cable, the riser cable, it's under the motherboard. So I had to remove the motherboard, shift the riser cable down, and place the motherboard back. So it's not their mistake, it's mine. It's my oversight. The front supports 280mm radiator or 240mm fans, and when those are in place, you will not be able to access the screws that hold the graphics card in place. The workaround is to detach the support beam through the power supply area, which is also a hassle once the power supply is already in place. I also wish that they provided something to hold the graphics card firmly, as the heavy part is left wobbling at the top of the casing. And then when I install this, put it this way, the graphics card, the bottom area here is very narrow. That's why Meshlicious comes with a HDMI cable, and that is just HDMI. So your cost begins here, or most likely to begin here, is that if you are using DisplayPort, you will have to buy a new display. You should buy the 90-degree adapter, or you can buy a new DisplayPort that already comes with a 90-degree angle connector. But if you have you're using multi-monitor setup, it's going to be worse. I don't know how you can overcome it. From what I see, there's space for 2. It is possible to go to 3. However, that is, I I do not use 3 monitors. I don't have that many this is what you call the 90-degree cable and all to test for you. However, that is something that you have to consider. And then if you want to use longer cable instead of the 90-degree angle thing, in case your graphics card output port is conflicting, you can get someone to print the 3D print the feet, or buy some taller feet to support this casing, so it has more room for you to route the HDMI cables, or this, should I say, display cables. And the beam on that holds the graphics card, you have to note that in some cases, if your display output is towards the top of the PCIe bracket, it might be blocked. So that is only an issue if you run multi-monitor, I guess, because typically there's multiple HDMI and multiple display ports, so you can choose not to opt for the highest or the topmost connector, unless you're running some lower end graphics card that has one DVI DisplayPort and HDMI, and one of them happens to be at the top there, which happens to be the one you're using. There might be a conflict over there. Then there's when speaking of graphics card, you can run shorter graphics card over here at the top. However, that's another cost because the riser cable does not cover that. You have to buy another riser cable to use it that way. Same if you want to mount this, what do you call, the hard disks or SSDs, whichever additional drives over here, which is on the other side here. You can't do that when you're using a large size card. In order to do so, you have to use small size card, and that's where the cost comes in. And if you are not using an AIO and you want airflow, prepare to spend on fans. So actually it's easier than I thought. I was writing so many things over at all these things. Yeah, so basically I think this casing is great. Like what I said, it's small footprint, really refined. I love the panels. It's really the best built casing I've ever come across. It's just that at the price point is pretty high. So if you are, if you're expecting something simple, maybe this is not the casing for you. You have to consider all the limitations. However, if you consider all those limitations and decide to build in it, it is a fantastic casing. You can actually customize, like say using graphics card with a custom water cool your graphics card and the CPU. Is entirely possible. Over here, I forgot to mention, it depends on your cable. Huge thanks to SleeveMods for providing me these cables at the last minute. So it's black colored and it's shorter than the default flat type cable from FSP, and it looks great. So when it comes to it, yes, it can have cable management issue. I've stashed a lot of cables down here simply because I need to power the ARGB. So if you're not using RGB, you can actually have less cables. Like here, I'm using the Molex connectors. Basically, this is awesome stuff from SleeveMod. So shorten cables so that it does not come into conflict with the fan. Ideally, you should consider getting fan grills so that the fans do not come into conflict with the cables over here. So that's pretty much what I have to add to this, to all the reviews of the Sunny Side Up Design Meshlicious. Nice casing, however, do consider what I usually joke with people about this casing is that it has many DLCs. You have a lot of things to consider. So let me sum it up. You want to use short graphics card, you have to buy a riser. For all your other existing output, if you are using this casing, you have to spend on those adapters, of which I find it troublesome, especially if you're a person who once set up a PC and not shifting around, is fine. However, the bottom area under the graphics card is very limited. So if you're troubleshooting and want to remove cables and such, it's going to be a bit of hassle. But overall, yes, like what I said, what you are paying right now, the price, regardless of how it is for a very refined casing, great build, and the flexibility it comes with. Imagine able to shift the things around inside to support long cards of different orientation, storage, and whatever else. Good stuff. So, yep, I hope that this sharing is sufficient for you to make your decision on what is good and whether this casing suits you. So if I miss out anything, well, my apologies for that, because writing, like what I said, to write out all the details is just there. So I'm just going to, I don't know, in this video it's just there, totally everything spoken right out of my head, non-scripted. That's all from me for this one. Thank you for watching. I hope you found the video useful and informative. If you like more of this kind of content, do check out the videos at the side and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.